Founders of Teotihuacan, one of the most difficult names that I brought here to the channel. So this is the tile version of the Teotihuacan board game, which I've never played, just this one. And we can see here, before we get into the other game, someone had to build this city. So that's the topic of the game, as founders of Teotihuacan. So what's happening here? The box says, travel back in time to the founding of one of the greatest cities in Mesoamerica and become part of its history once again, but before. Design the foundations of the great pre-Columbian civilization with the buildings, temples, Grand Pyramid at the center, and find the perfect location for production buildings, great temples, and build the might of a great empire overlooking your city. Yeah, that's an interesting context. So basically what's happening here is that each player will have a board, and this is, I don't like to call it a tile game, it's more like a polynomial Tetris or kind of game where you need to fit these pieces in your board in a certain way to maximize some points. So I'll show you how, and I'll show you what is inside this game from board and dice. So let's open. While we open, so don't forget, if you like this video, to hit that like button and subscribe, because I have a big playlist full of board games and card games, and majority of people that watch the videos forget to subscribe. So just a quick reminder to do that in order not to miss anything from the future. Cool. Very heavy. I guess there's going to be lots of unpunching here to open after opening this box. Okay. It's only filled until the middle point, so not much. So these are the resources: yellow for gold, brown for wood, and gray for stone. Then the meeples and the components for each player on the four colors, strange colors. There's a die here or something, which I don't remember what it was. Okay, there's a rule book in English, and there's the solo mode. We'll take a look at them. Let's see what's here. Starting with the normal rule book. Okay, components. The art, they've kept here a bit of Mesoamerican artwork around. Game is not that difficult, but it's not easy to get in. The first time you play, you struggle a lot, especially because you have this mechanic here where you can only build on certain parts in each turn, and that really twists your mind and stretches in a way that you need to have a different kind of thinking to do that. I'll show you a bit how it works. So that's the manual. Then for solo is much smaller, just kind of 8 pages for solo. But if you think like there's a solo mode and it has 8 pages, then that must be a very good solo mode, at least well thought. Wow, now we have plastic here covering the tiles, which is a waste because we don't need to keep this plastic, because everything will be punch out. There you go. So this is coming out already. One of the 2 central tiles. So this is going to be the common board. I'll show you. And then we have the 4-player boards, which also have some surrounding cutting. Why do they do this? This is extra that you need to recycle. And as I mentioned, lots of unpunching. So we have the temples. These are cards for objectives. The temples, the pyramids, the objectives, the production buildings, the masks, which are the prizes, more and more and more. Okay, let's pause here and prepare the setup for me to teach you how this game goes. This is how the central board looks. You have 3 zones: the building zone, which is that area in white, and then this red area is where you'll play your actions, and then you also have the map region, as you can see here, map, which is the actions here below. So you will start your round, and depending on the number of players, you may play 3 rounds or 4 rounds. You will start your round with a limited number of actions that you can have. So these discs will be your actions. And then every round, you will lose one. So at the beginning of the game, it will be slower. But then by the end of the game, you'll play faster or quicker because you will have less actions available. So you on these fields here, you have 3, 3, 3, depending on the number of players. You put your disc and then you decide which action you want to do. So if I put here, you can do the action above or you can do the action below. But it's not just that simple, because the game comes with these circles here. They have some icons, which, for example, if this symbol would be here, or this here, or a different one here, the first player that puts his action here on a space, you, besides doing the action, you will also be the one getting the bonus from the disc. Okay, and this it sounds like a worker placement, but these areas, another player can come and do the same action as well on top of yours, but it doesn't have access to this power, just do the action above or below. So let's see these actions one by one, just to make it more clear. You can, if you activate this, you can have an extra building, so you can choose a building from there, which means that you could put here, build twice, because you would build here this action and then the normal action, the building from above. Or you can just build and do the action below. Okay. Then you also have the similar thing, but for the map region, you can do this action and then decide if you want to do again this action or the action above. This one will give you 1 victory point. So the symbol here, that's a symbol of victory points. And then the disc shows an arrow above. That's because when you put a disc here, if you want to do the building action, then you need to count how much power of building you have. So in this example, there is 1 disc. This counts as 1 disc and my disc. So my building power will be 2, meaning that I could build this building, which, imagine Tetris, this is like a 2 houses or 2 squares building. This would be a 3 squares building. This would be a 4 squares building. So it's important for you to know when to come here, because if you plan to build something with 4 levels, you cannot go just in the beginning because you will not have available building power. You need to either leverage on of your actions or wait for other players to go there to start piling. Okay, but if you do this thing here gives you an extra building power. So basically, if you're the first one, you have this first disc, this second disc, and then the building upgrade. So you could immediately build something level 3. But the next player then doing the same, he can only do level 1, 2, and 3 as well, although he's coming here after than you. Works the same way for these buildings, right? So if you want to build this is level 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares. But the difference is that these buildings, they have a cost. So here you need to pay, if you want to build a green building, you need to pay a stone and a wood, while these are free. But the difference is that these ones here, you need to have the building power. If not, you cannot build. But on this, if you don't have enough building power, you can pay the extra cost for each building power that you're lacking, and then you are allowed to build. So in a quick example, let's imagine that I have this symbol, I come here, right? And I have a building power of 2. So I want to build this, and I would have to pay 1 stone, 1 wood, and 1 more wood. But imagine that I was crazy and I wanted to build this one, 5 square spaces. So I pay the normal 1 stone, 1 gold, but then the 3 lacking building powers that I don't have because I only have 2, I would need to pay 3 stones. Okay, so that doesn't limit you, but it will make it costly. Other things that you'll find there: more points, more building power, more increasing power. You get a resource of any kind. Again, map action, and the last one is again 1 point and another resource of any kind. So these things are not printed in the board because every time you change your eras or rounds or whatever, you take these randomly and you fill. So every round it will be played differently, gives some variability to make the game look different every round. Okay, so getting back to the different actions. So we've seen these buildings. These are the buildings that will give you resources once you go into the map. These are the buildings that have certain colors. They are important for scoring. Those are called the temples. And each temple will allow you to get one of these cards. Okay, we'll see those in the end, but these work like objectives where if you fulfill certain requirements, you'll get certain points. Yeah. And each of them is related with one color. And here on the most right column, you have the parts of the pyramid, the Mesoamerican pyramid. So this will make perfectly sense once you see the board, but you have 3 kinds of colors, which coincide with the colors on this side. And by the way, probably there's a mistake here. I should put like this, right? The green, the blues, and the reds. So if you want to buy or build part of your pyramid, you also need to pay the cost here. And it works the same way, building power, and base cost and extra cost if you don't have enough building power. And then you take this tile, you take it to your board, you construct, and specifically the pyramid, you also get 2 victory points if you just show this, put this on site, immediately you get those 2 points. So those are the building actions. Then here below, the other kind of actions that you can have. So if you do this action, you will refill your pool of buildings, the production buildings. You will get 1 resource extra for each of them. It's a way for you to generate resources if you don't want to build, because build will take you space on your building zone. You can just refill them, or you can build 2 of these single square buildings, which are good to cover small holes that you have in your city, and they also generate resources around them. So, and there are some goals that use these small ones. You'll see. Then another tricky thing is that you can come here on this thing, which has a 1, and this rectangle, which are these rectangles. So if you already achieved some of these requirements, they don't get completed or filled immediately. You need to activate this action in order to clear one of these bonus. Okay, so it's an extra step for it to happen. And then last but not least, you can also go here and move forward your circle 1 space or more during the game. If you do that, you get the points that you see there, 2 points first, and 4, then 6 and 8. So all of these together, it's lots of points. But actually what this really does is you can change one of these things that you got for another one that is visible here, or from the top of the pile. And the reason for that is because once you build, you are limited to the cards that you see on that moment in the board. So you need to take one of them, and maybe none of them is a good one. But later on, something pops up here that it's really what you need to score those points, right? So you can always come here and swap it, and be happy in life, because you have the objectives that you need to fulfill and be a happier person. Okay, so let's see how then all this building converts into points and building your Teotihuacan pyramid. This is how a Teotihuacan construction or building site looks in the beginning of the game, where everything is empty. So important things for you to see right now. So around the track, around the board, there's a track, which is where you'll score your victory points. Be careful, because by scoring victory points, what I mean is that this thing will start here on the 0, and then we'll go, it will increase and go around. So any mistake will just touch it and you lose reference where you were. So be careful with that. They could have done this a little bit larger. Yeah, instead of cutting this spare cardboard, they could have kept it, and they have left a bit larger. Okay, then when you build, remember the buildings you saw before. So for example, if you decide to build this construction, this wood construction building, then what happens is you need to place it in a specific place where you are allowed to. So that's where these guys come in. These are called the architects, and the architect, each turn you will be in one of the corners, one of the sides of this square, right? And then imagine that the guy is here on this turn and you want to build this. So then you are building, your building is limited to this side of the square. The same way, if he goes down here, you're limited to this side. You see the quadrants here, so these 2 quadrants. Then here would be these 2, here would be these 2, and as mentioned, here would be these 2. So you need to select a place to put this building, and that's it. So what would be then the limitations? you need to build with certain things in mind. First is you'll need lots of space to build everything and score points. So the more randomly you put and not put some thought, maybe you'll get some mistakes or you will block future buildings. So be careful with that. And then once you build these building things, what they do is that in every side, not considering diagonals, you will produce one resource of the building type. So this is a wood shop, and then you produce 8 cubes of wood, which are the resources you have available for them. So when you need to use to pay for things, you just take it and put it back on the supply. I think the idea is that this is like unexplored land. There was nothing there, and then the natives, what they do is they just explore here and they found wood, because then you also have a place that you can play and that you can put down, and they find gold around it like a gold mine. And the same thing with stone, which they works like a quarry they've opened, and they find stone around it. Okay. And then the other things that you need to have in mind is that you see these symbols, these masks. So once you fill them, you filled with buildings, not with the resources. The resources doesn't count. If you are the first to fill, for example, this symbol, okay, then you can go to the pile of prizes and you can get this artifact that's worth 7 points. The first ones to go there, and this, for example, is only for 3 or more players. The first ones to get there, the first ones are have higher prize, higher value, and then it goes lower, lower, lower the more players achieve that. So make sure that you are the first one, because these things are worth lots of points. Okay. And so you are limited to build where this guy is, and then in the end of the turn, the architect moves to this next clockwise, moves to the next side of the square, meaning that in your next turn you'll only be able to build here. And that's the biggest limitation of this game, is that you need to plan ahead your building, knowing that the place where you want to build only comes in the next turn, or in 2 turns, or in 3 turns. So you need to anticipate that and really be efficient in building what you need here, now that the architect is in this place. So other important things then. First, you start with this tile in the middle. Okay, so this is a pyramid zone where you build the pyramid parts, the ones that have these 3 colors. Once you build on top of one of these symbols, what happens is that you unlock for free the benefit that is below. So you'll get a blue building that you need to place immediately, orange building, could be a green temple, could be a bonus card, or could be production buildings, or even points and smaller production buildings. So also the timing is important for you to build and unlock what you want, considering where the architect is always. And it's not just putting these tiles randomly. So how the game scores is really important. Imagine the following example. This guy is here, and I can only build here, you see, on this side. So imagine that let me give you this example. I build here. In building this, I would gain immediately a big temple, right? So this big temple needs to be placed, and I would place somewhere like this in order to also block and cover 4 of the 6 symbols. Okay, so I'm trying to achieve this, which is those masks that give you points, but also I'm trying to do another thing, which is in the end of the game, you will score points for each temple that you have, multiplied by the number of pieces of the pyramid that correspond to that color. Okay, so give you here a first example. So in the end of the game, this piece would give me 2 points for this temple, and this one would give me 2 points for this temple. But if I was a very big constructor and I managed to do something like this, imagine this is a valid thing, then this will give me 4 points because I have 2 orange buildings, and this one will also give me 4 points. So the strategy is for you to try to concentrate pyramid tiles and temples with the same corner with the same color in the same corner, which is not as easy as it sounds. No. Especially because the architect will be moving around, so you'll find times where you are trying to build things on this side, but what you need to build is on that side, and it will make it very difficult for you. Luckily, the game helps a little bit. So if you put this here, this thing will count twice. It will count for this side when counting the end game. So you see it is between the top side and the bottom side, so it counts twice. Will count for here and for there. In the same way, if a building is here, it will count both for the bottom side and for the top side. So yeah, be careful, be careful, be careful. Plan correctly. You can also mix things. So for example, if you had something like this, okay, on calculations, this temple would give you 2 points, plus 2 points, plus 2 points. Okay. But the magic happens because we're talking about pyramids. Once you've completed a corner of the pyramid, then you can continue building on top of it, and you can do stuff like this. That's why you have the corners there, you see? So in this example, this would give me 2 points. This one would give me 2 points for the orange building, but the top one, which is orange, it will give me 3 points, okay? So now imagine a math if you manage to do something like this, right? Which would mean that this would give me 4 points, this one 4 points, and this one would give me 6 points. That's how the game is played. Multiplying, aggregating, and making leveraging on all the constructions that you managed to aggregate in certain corners. Sounds super easy in paper. I struggled a bit. Okay, and so now that you understand the basics here, I'm going to show you some of the cards in a certain way. So for example, here, the green ones, you can exchange spare resources at any time for points to a maximum that you can see here. Change stone, exchange anything, exchange 8 of anything for this. That will be the mechanics for greens. Then for reds, let me show you some reds and blues. So for blues, it will be, it's upside down. Blues is like once you have certain numbers of buildings, you can then get the points that are mentioned here. So for example, if you have 2 gold buildings of 4 squares, you can get these 10 points, and the same thing with other kinds of buildings. And red will give you some bonus points, but also give you extra actions. So you could get these points and an extra action in the common board. This would give you an extra building action. This will give you more points and 1 single square building. This, when they have the points on this side, is that these are the points you get immediately, and this bonus, which will be a building. But when the points are here on this side, like on blue ones, this is a requirement for you to get those points. Yeah, and that's it, basically. Founders of Teotihuacan. I hope you liked this video to the point that you consider hitting that like button and subscribing. Don't forget that I have this big playlist for lots of board games and all the major card games as well in the market. But I also have an interesting podcast called The Table Talks, where I'm interviewing people to get to know their stories, their profiles, their projects while playing board games online with them. So I definitely think that you will find interesting content in the channel to consider subscribing and to be part of this community. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Goodbye.